welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for a new episode of A New Go of New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthon, and joining me today is Paul Cardis. Paul is the CEO and co-founder of On3. Welcome to the show, Paul. I am so excited to have our conversation today.
Thank you, Anya. It's great to be with you.
Likewise. Paul, I think you don't really need an introduction into home building industry. You've been around for quite some time, but for those listeners who may not know your story and your
Sure.
serial entrepreneurship in home building industry, why don't you tell us, how did you get into home building industry and what is it that you do now?
My story goes back quite a ways, so you're right. I've been in it for a long time. This is well over 30 years now. I like to say I started though when I was very young, so hopefully I'm not dating myself too much. But my dad actually was a home builder way back when, and so I grew up around the construction industry. I didn't enter it. I didn't work for him or do any of that. I actually went straight on to college and was studying and doing statistics and data and education. But then came back to home building. And I remember sitting around one day by the fire, as they say, and started talking about what I wanted to do. And he mentioned to me, he says, why don't you do this with home builders? They need it. And this was a long time ago, before home building was as big as it is today. And you know what? The idea came. I did it. He introduced me to a few friends, and as they say, the rest is history. And I found a home. I love the industry, and I've dedicated my entire professional career to prop tech and different technology solutions serving the industry.
And that's right. So you've had quite a few different companies. So you spent the last decade really at this intersection of technology and home building.
Yes.
So you founded Avid Ratings. So what insights from that previous company days influenced how you approached learning technology now at On3?
At Avid, it was all about quality, right? We were trying to improve the home building product quality and customer experience through the lens of the customer. And they were recently acquired by ECI, which I may know about. Yes, so we're very happy and proud of the team and the great work. They landed at a wonderful company at ECI, so I feel really great that the legacy of that organization that I was so blessed to be a part of will continue and strong. And they have some exciting plans going forward, but always about quality for me. And so I think it started there. One of the things I realized though was that quality also needed to happen out there in the construction, in the front lines, and that there wasn't any technology addressing the frontline construction issues. And in fact, really, if you even look at it today, we still do printed scopes of work. We have very little in terms of technology. We have some scheduling and we have POs and things like that, which do some really nice work. But when it comes to the how-tos in the business, how do we do this and how do we do that? How do we communicate with our trades? It's still the old-fashioned way. So we came in with On3 with a new plan, new way, and invested time and treasure here to solve that problem. And I'm excited with what's happened since. We've had a lot of growth and really proved that we can digitize that side of the business as well.
Mm-hmm. So you have a very interesting background in both education and psychology, as well as business analytics. So how
Yes.
do you see AI changing the way that we approach adult learning,
Mhm.
particularly in construction and sales? As you mentioned, you're really changing the way we approach that with your new company.
AI isn't new. It's been around since the 1950s, believe it or not. It's when it was really founded. So we've been always playing with AI as an industry for a very long time. But it's really been the last 10 years, last 9 to 10 years have really been amazing, right? We've seen all of this change so fast. And this is where it really piqued my interest. And I had the good fortune to learn from some great companies who are using AI today to solve big problems. And I thought we can do that here in housing.
That's amazing. So can you give an example of how AI can really customize learning for someone?
Yeah, so we use AI in a number of different ways. And what I like to say is that AI is a great tool for enhancing human performance, right? I don't think it's in a place to replace human performance. In some areas, maybe yes, one could argue, but I think it comes with limitations and significant guardrails. But AI has an amazing potential to enhance the performance of how we do things today. And this is where we're focused on is how do we make people better? How do we make them smarter? How do we make them safer? How do we make them able to spot problems faster and address problems faster before they become bigger problems down the road? And AI can do an amazing job there. And that's where we've been focused on in building these tools. And that ties back to teaching the person, right? So the AI can be there as essential co-pilot to inform, educate, and prompt that worker and really help them in their daily jobs. And so that's the kind of technology that we're building today. And as we start, the first step of that was to teach. How do we teach learners the various pieces of construction? And so we're using AI essentially as a digital tutor, both in the form of traditional e-learning that you know a lot, where you watch video, take tests. We have our AI that's monitoring that. But we then have now progressed to now AI bots that are there. So I have a question, I can say, hey, On3, how many anchor bolts go in this cinder block foundation or whatever it is? And AI will then be able to answer that accurately based on the company's knowledge. And so this new era that we're in is really exciting. And I think you're going to see the advent of these essential agents that are going to become very smart and very powerful and extremely useful for companies and workers out there in construction.
I agree. And we were talking earlier that we're both parents of younger kids. So I'm really excited to see how that's going to even change the classroom learning, because my boys come home so often, they say, oh, it's just such a bore. She was so boring. The teacher is
Yeah.
just talking. And there's so many wonderful ways that AI can really gamify the experience, make it fun, and tailor it to every single individual, like you said. Allowing them to learn how they want to learn. Even for me personally, one of my sons, he brought a C home in math, which I've never been great at math myself. Prior to AI, I would have never said, let me tutor you and let me show you how it's done. But now I'm like, you know what? If you have a question on your homework, bring it over to me, because I can figure it out in 2 seconds using my
Yeah.
trusted Claude to explain how to solve this problem. And not only that, the way it's going to explain it and find maybe like shortcuts that you would never think about to make it memorable for that particular student. So I'm personally so very excited for what that technology allows us. So I'm glad that you are utilizing that already in the construction industry. So Paul, it's interesting that you chose mobile first microlearning as
Mhm.
a platform for this, because traditionally, especially for construction industry, it seems like most of that learning happened either in a classroom or really
Yeah.
through shadowing. So why did you choose this format as a mobile first?
The reason is if you look at what's happening in the construction field, that is the ubiquitous computer in the field right now. Yes, they may be given iPads. Yes, they probably have a laptop on in the seat of their truck, but it's not in their hands. It's not in their pocket when they're in the house. And so we wanted to be there. We wanted to literally be in the front line right there where the action's happening and provide a digital tool that would be easily accessible. So the cell phone is the natural first. But it's not the only place that we see. We think there's going to be new technologies that come out. I think wearables are going to be coming in line, and we're very keen on those and watching that carefully. We have some prototypes. You've probably seen some pictures of us playing around with wearables at the various shows. It's not here yet. I don't think wearables are ready yet, but they will be coming. But we picked mobile based because it really is going to be the one thing they can easily grab. But the one thing we did with the mobile is we also had to make it available so that it worked offline because most construction workers don't have good internet. So you talk about all these great technologies, and we heard cases where they're driving to the local 7-Eleven so they could get cell signals so they could update their schedules and then go back to the field. That wasn't going to work for this kind of a digital assistant in construction. So ours works offline, which posed numerous challenges for us technologically, but we pulled it off, and our clients really love that feature.
Yeah, that's incredible, because I was going to say, yeah, it's easy to find an answer when you have that connectivity, but when you don't have that, which you're right, on site, it's got to be a challenging environment, and where you're trying to find an answer to a certain question and it's spinning. So that's
Yes.
ideal, of course, that it doesn't need that connection to the internet. And so, Paul, you've worked with so many different big builders like DR Horton and Pulte. So, what common training challenges have you seen when it comes to training, specifically in new construction? And how does your company solve those problems? I know we've already mentioned like being mobile first and no need for internet, but what other challenges can you talk about?
Absolutely. Whether you're DR, Pulte, or you're a custom builder, we work with all clients of all sizes inside the industry. In fact, we're seeing a big growth right now in our trade contractor sales. So we have, for example, landscaping companies, plumbing companies, electricians, framers, a variety of trades now are using On3 to essentially document and capture their processes and then turn that into learning using our AI, and as well use the AI to then manage what we call competency across the team. And so it's not just for the big builders. And a lot of folks we do work with are big, and I think that's a credit to the ROI that we bring. We like to say that we're not just saving six figures, we're not just paying for the app platform, we're literally seeing seven-figure returns for our clients who engage in this because there's so much waste. In fact, for every 1,000 homes built, the Building Talent Foundation identified $21 million in losses just due to rework. And so when you start to add this up, it's like around 3% of the house cost is just wasted in rework and communicating with our trades. And some have told us that number is low. We look forward to future studies to really dig in on that. So the answer is tough because you're talking about a lot of quality issues, right? And you think about what happens in a home, there's over 60,000 points of failure. And so there's a lot of things that we're managing right now, everything from concrete to finish and everything in between. And there's not one thing that sticks out, although I would say framing is probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually that's why you do after framing inspection, right? Because that you can uncover a lot of mistakes there.
Yep.
So Paul, for builders who are considering On3, what does implementation look like? Do you have to go out in the field and pre-record all those videos or processes, or talk
Mhm.
us through how quickly can they be up and running once they decide to invest in this?
Yeah, the great news is we've now built up a library now of thousands of different scopes of work and videos now across the country. We've been at it for 5 years, believe it or not. So it's now finally to hit critical mass where we have most regions of the country. We have lots of the different processes that are being done, and we're now amassing building products as well. So we have it down to the building product. So if you're using LP Smart Side using Hardy Board, either one of those, we have training programs for each one of them that's from the manufacturer that's now in there. So we're at product specific, we have region specific, and we're covering all the major steps in the build cycle. So we don't have it all. Clearly, there's no way any one company could really have it all because you think about all the iterations. There's over 7 million building products that we can put in homes today. If you didn't know that, it's a crazy number. And you have thousands of iterations of our building code. Put all that together, it's literally infinity. And no one's going to have it all. So to
Yeah.
make up the difference is we have now an app called On3 Create, which allows the client to use their mobile devices and record videos out in the field. And then those videos are then ingested by our system, and then we can easily convert those into scopes of work and into learning. And so we use AI to obviously streamline that and make it very affordable and fast. And that's what is so exciting because anybody can do this today, and there's no reason not to. I like to say I wouldn't run a home building company without it. I know it sounds like a big pitch for us, but truly, these tools are going to save companies a lot of money by documenting what we're doing in video. So
Absolutely. And you're not the only one who's saying that. Congratulations to you because you won the most innovative startup by NHB. So obviously they saw exactly what you're talking
thank you.
about
Yeah.
here. So all that video that you're collecting, it actually makes me think, oh wow, one day you could use that to train the robots that's
Mhm.
eventually going to be taken over. We'll see. But with such a huge library of videos, you're really going to be able to put together like a master robot builder. I don't know.
That's not our plan. Definitely not our plan. But I think robotics will have a place in home building for sure. I don't think we're ever going to get the human out of it. There's just too much complexity that robots will not be able to handle, plus all the environmental conditions that change and the myriad of products and code requirements make it really complex for, I think, a robot to be able to do from beginning to end. Construction is a great place to plant a flag in your career because I think there's going to be a need for humans. Now, will we have robots oversee, help, do the heavy lifting, things like that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we see it now with bricklaying robots. I met a guy who's got a drywall finishing robot that's making progress. And so we're definitely going to see these things enter the workforce, but there will be lots of humans setting them up, managing them, transporting them. I don't think people need to be afraid of robots in construction. There's going to be plenty of jobs for people.
Oh, I agree. I think robots are going to take over doing stuff that humans either don't want to do or not great at. Like you said,
Yep.
lifting heavy loads, right? Dangerous jobs, my laundry, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then humans can hopefully still do more of intricate roles. And actually, great news is recently New York Post had an article about Gen Zs,
Mhm.
and that 50% of Gen Zs are actually considering blue collar jobs, which was a big
Oh,
surprise. But I
yeah,
guess
that's big.
they're just seeing millennials go through the trap of the traditional college and then stuck with all the loans for the rest of their lives and not being able to find well-paying jobs to actually pay off those loans. So it's great to see that so many of Gen Zs are starting to consider blue collar and that there's not like a stigma associated with that. For example, even for myself and my boys, when we talk about future moving on, it's not just college conversation. I always tell them, hey, you don't necessarily have to go to college to be successful these
That's right.
days. So there's a lot of different opportunities. And yeah, so
Absolutely. I actually volunteer at my daughter's high school. And in fact, I was just there yesterday and they were doing a workshop to learn about what kind of skills that they need to be teaching for the modern workforce. But absolutely correct. I think that this is a tremendous opportunity for us to help kids find the careers that fit best. And it does not always include four-year degree college, correct? And there's some great jobs to be had. Entrepreneurship can be had in construction almost better than in any other industry. So there's so many promising things. I'm really proud of the work that we do as an industry.
absolutely. I am right there with you. The future looks bright, and we all know that we need to build lots and lots of homes. So
We do.
Paul, oh, you can actually help, right? Help building those homes better, faster,
Yes.
with your software. So, can you share a story, a success story with us of how a builder was able to maybe transform their business by using your training software?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's been many, but one that strikes, there was a builder that we had that had a particular quality issue. This problem was happening 30-40% of the time. By doing the program, they were to drop it down to less than 1%. And so we have that happen all the time. And you say, that's pretty dramatic. How did you do that? It was pretty simple. The field worker recorded that video, got approved by corporate. The corporate then pushed it out and assigned it. They loved it so much. They pushed it out and assigned it to all their team members, and we have a validation component to ours. So we know that everybody who was assigned it was able to watch it and took a test and proved competency in it. So it wasn't just, hey, they clicked on it, but we actually know that they understand it. And then we watched as the issue incidents dropped precipitously. And so there's direct tie-outs like that all the time where we have problem and we can train away that solution. And I think that's huge because in the past, how do we fix that? We went around, we punished people, right? We thump them on the head and say, do better, get this done. But instead of training and educating on how we do it. And so what we're finding is that combination of what we're doing, having accountability plus training is a much better way to reduce all these issues that we face every day in construction. We have another client who's chopped out over 30 days of their build cycle just by getting everybody more efficient and having firm understandings of the scope all the way down to the trade crews across their company. They've actually reduced build times by over a month. And that's just, again, stunning results, but it can happen when you have everybody dialed in following the same page of the songbook.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Paul, what's future holds for your company? So, right now, sounds like you're addressing a lot of those videos related to trade specific, right? Project managers. Do you have your eyesight on the sales? What's next for you?
Actually, we really don't. We're really happy in the construction space right now. We're very good at it. We do have clients that have taken our platform and applied it to other industries, or I should say other departments, not industries, but other industries too. So we're seeing an extension of this model. We have a healthcare client that wants to deploy this in their hospital. We have hospitality clients. We have other folks that are manufacturing clients now. So we're starting to expand outside of that. And likewise, sure, you could do this in sales, you could do this in design. But we don't build any curriculum for that. If somebody wants to do it, they can take it and they can do that. And there's a lot of reasons that makes sense. But for us, we're really staying focused on that front line right now in construction. And because of the enormity of the problem and the complexity of the problem, we think that's where we need to stay focused right now in terms of our content building.
Yeah, for sure. That's great. Yeah, it makes sense that it applies to so many different industries and that it would be transferable to virtually any department. Take even customer service or anything. Yeah, as long as you
That's
can
right.
record a video, right? Like you can replicate the process. It makes sense.
Exactly. And that's right. And our future is about continuing to create that auto self DIY creation because then it becomes really evergreen. Anybody can create anything as you put it. They just make a video and now you can train on it. And so I think this is a model for us. And as we continue to grow, you're going to see more tools that are enhancing that.
Yeah, in the future we may have surgeons there performing operations
I
by
don't know
YouTube.
about that, but
You
maybe
never know.
never know. Yep.
Yeah. Paul, as we wrap it up, I want to shift over to a little bit of a broader industry perspective. So you worked with so many different clients during your time at Avid Ratings, and now obviously as you're pioneering this mobile learning with On3. So what do you see as the biggest opportunity for builders? How can they improve their operations?
I think we've been talking about it throughout the presentation today. It's all about capturing your processes, the things that are in your company, because those are very individualized and unique. And you take it for granted, builder, right? You take it for granted that everybody understands them. And unfortunately, they don't. Unfortunately, we have trades that are got incredible levels of turnover. The owner of the trade you hired understands the scope because they get your checks, but does their crew, that's not necessarily a given. And so I think that's the biggest opportunity right now is really making sure that your scopes of work, the way you want things done, are clearly communicated out into the field and out to the trades. And that's the biggest opportunity. And as we continue to grow, we're seeing that the language barrier is the other big, huge thing. We've created multilingual translation. It's all AI generated, and we're refining those models. But we have trades that are speaking Korean, that are speaking Haitian Creole, Portuguese, and of course Spanish and Russian too, by the way. We have a lot of Ukrainians now coming in through immigration channels, and they're taking these jobs. The diversity of the workforce is greater than it ever was. And so that's a huge opportunity is to go multilingual, have a tool that does that, and get very specific with your details, like using a product like ours. And I think you're going to realize big returns.
Yeah, you and I just saw each other at Tech Home Builder in Pasadena. And when we had a chance to chat, you had showed me a video of a guy explaining something, how to install a pipe or whatever. And then with a click, you literally were able to make it in Spanish. So it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, and his voice, right? That was the other
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. And it was like it matched what he was saying, totally matched
Yeah,
what it is really crazy what technology enables us to do. Again, I think it's so exciting that level of personalization, really, that again, that tailors to not only, yes, what's your preferred method of learning? How can I teach you? It doesn't matter what language you learn it on, as long as you can repeat it, right? That's the key, not to learn it in English, force you to learn it in English because that's the way it is. And then how many mistakes or you didn't catch this or that. So it's amazing that you're able to really tailor that not only to the style that they want, but also their preferred language. And again, AI really allows us to like click of a button and boom, it's in German or whatever language.
right.
It's really exciting.
Right. It is exciting. It's not easy as it sounds too. And again, I'm not trying to, plump it up, but we found is the AIs are very inaccurate. So there's a lot of work going into the translation features right now because construction English is different than what AI knows. And so that we're learning a lot about that and building our own models so that it does it correctly and it doesn't mess it up because sometimes you can change the entire meaning, AI can, and that can be very dangerous because you want them to go left and they're going right. That would be a
Right.
bad deal. Yeah.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of nuances. So I'm sure right now you do have to have a lot of controls, but
Yeah.
hopefully with time it's going to be better and better
Yeah,
at,
for sure.
even for myself. So I was born in Russia and I
Hmm.
moved to the States when I was 13. So my Russian vocabulary kind of stayed at that 13-year-old level, only it's a little bit worse now because I forgot some of it. So I'm really not able to have any conversations that involve like any adult topics in Russian, like politics or
Interesting.
mortgage
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything really like health, anything intricate that would be above 13-year vocabulary, because
Hmm.
really I haven't had a chance to speak with anybody. My mom recently came back from Russia and she brought back like a vitamins for me, and it had label in Russian, and I was like, I couldn't tell you like what this, I could read the words, but it doesn't make any meaning to me.
Hmm.
So I had ChatGPT take a picture of it and translate it. So to your point, hopefully I'm taking the correct doses now. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, yeah. Yeah, but that's a great point. And but language is relative, and when but that think that's coming along, and we're going to see a lot of great advances in that area,
For
along with many
sure.
other advances as well. I think AI vision is going to be something. This will be the year, I think AI vision 2025 will be making some major leaps and bounds, and it will have a radical impact on the way we do things in our lives in many areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Even again with my parents being immigrants, so often I will have to go to the doctor's office with them and translate
Hmm.
everything. And now it's, oh, I can just take a picture of whatever it is and be
Mm.
like, hey, this here it is in Russian, read it. So
Done.
it's
Okay.
amazing. It's really exciting to see how it's breaking down really so many barriers for so many people, and it's really making the playing field like more equal, right? If you can
For
explain
sure.
it, if you in your own language, which is the beauty of it, then you can probably create it.
Absolutely.
Paul, last question for you. You've obviously been very successful at spotting and solving industry problems, often before they even become widely recognized with avid ratings. That was a great system that you put forward, that maybe at the time builders didn't put so much emphasis on the importance of collecting feedback and then addressing that feedback. And now with On3, you're jumping ahead on this new platform and in the learning for continuous education for everybody. So, what challenges do you see in home building right now, maybe like over the next, say, a decade, that maybe most people are like blind to? If it's
Mm.
not a secret for your next company, of course.
I think, thank you for that. First off, that's very kind of you. I feel very blessed that we were able to get involved with things before they really took off. And you're right, customer experience wasn't a thing when I started. I remember talking to people and they would be like, "What? You want to survey the customer? Why would we do that?"
Right.
Uh, there was an era where that was a real question, honestly. But obviously, we don't have that problem now today, and everybody gets it. And when we saw the advent of so many great technologies, and we were able to be a small part of this movement in the CX. I think we're on that next movement right now. I think it is the digitization of processes that we are dealing with on a daily basis and really empowering AI. It's becoming our like our life calculator, right? The calculator radically changed the way we do math prior to having cell phones and calculators in our pockets. You had to know and do a lot of math in your head. And we were, was a thing, right? Oh, I'm really good at math and I can do math in my head super fast. It's irrelevant today because everybody has a calculator in their pocket.
The teacher can say, "We're not going to have a calculator in your pocket," right?
That's
They
right.
lied to us.
They did, in a way. And so we're going to see the advent of AI now. In fact, we just talked about this at the school yesterday, in that we're trying to make sure kids can write appropriately for business because they're struggling right now in their communication. And of course, the argument was they can just use AI. Yeah, until the AI is not available, or if it's broke or it's down, and then they can't communicate, that would be bad. But we're seeing this reliance on technologies here, and we're going to see this next phase where we're recording processes. And I think we're in the early innings of this. Is going to be, I think, the next big thing coming, and we're in it, we're on it, and hopefully we can help make sure construction will be a leader in this, not a follower. And I think we are actually. We're ahead of other industries when it comes to this next phase of digitizing everything that's in our planet, in our world, in our work life. I think that's it. I think the next biggie, though, as I already alluded to, is AI vision. I'm really vexed when we can tie the computers can see and tie that back into the large learning models. We're going to have a whole new door open up for AI because it will become a lot more intelligent. and it will become contextual and timely, where right now it's prompted, but it's blind, right? It only understands what we feed it. Soon it will be understanding real time what we're experiencing real time. And that's going to have a dramatic change in our lives in a good way, I think. And of course, there are always going to be bad things that people can do, but I'm one to embrace the good of what we can do, as you've mentioned, using this for your parents and using this to bring the world closer, and that we're not so far apart just because we come from different parts of the world and speak different languages. That's almost irrelevant now because of these technologies. So I think the vision piece is the next big thing. We're trying to be a part of it, but it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. It's not here quite yet.
For sure, especially as AI goes on your chip, once it's on your device that we're attached to, that knows literally everything about you, from every transaction, from every place you've ever visited, photos you've taken, video. I mean, it's going to know you better than your own spouse because it's going to know the true you, right? And it's going to remember every single thing about you. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I know there's definitely a lot of hesitation with privacy, etc. But I think
There should be.
I definitely agree with you where I do think it's going to do more good than bad. Of course, there's always a few bad players, and
Yep.
unfortunately, that is the world that we live in. And no matter if there's technology, not technology, they will find a way to scam. And so that's just the reality of it. So technology has really nothing to do with that. So, Paul, as we finish today's podcast, first, please tell us, where can listeners connect with you? Is there a website? Do you hang out somewhere on social media if somebody wants to personally connect with you as well?
Thank you, Anya. Yes, if you want to learn more about our latest company, On3, you can go to on3, O-N, number 3.ai. So www.on3.ai. And we have a lot of great stuff on our website. You can check it out. You can also email me direct, always at paul@on3.ai. And I do hang out on social media, on LinkedIn primarily, as well as a little bit on Facebook. But LinkedIn's really where I've been doing most of my posting, and you can find me there with a quick search.
Perfect. And actually, you know what? I didn't ask you. What's up with the name? So On3.
Ah, great question. Yes, most people ask about that. It was funny. I actually developed this from a good friend of mine and an expert brand person, Sean Boyce, who named the company. I remember I was frustrated and trying to name it on my own. Eventually, I called Sean. He's the one who also named Avid Ratings, by the way, too. He
Oh,
developed the
interesting.
logo. He did all of that, so he gets all the credit for all that. And that brand has been great and very persistent today. All I can say is that I liked it, but he developed it. And so likewise, he did the same for us here at On3. And I remember when he first told it to me, I thought, oh, what's that? I didn't get it. And he goes, Team On3, man. You have a kid in sports? And they go, Team On3, ready? 1, 2, 3, team. And it was just that little simple thing that really resonated with us. We liked the shortness of it, and it was available. And we love the meaning of creating better teams, better functioning teams. And so that was it. And so the only last bit to it is that we like also its work in the AI, and we do have the trademark for it in AI as well. So Hey On3 is a thing, just like Siri. And we also like the way that works. So that's how we got to it. Unfortunately, we've had some competitors lately. I'm sure you follow On3 Sports. If you're into sports, you see them out there, but we hold the prior mark. We celebrate what they're doing in the sports world. They're doing great work, and but obviously different companies. And we're going to continue on to use our brand and grow it in the workspace.
I love it. It certainly is very memorable. Paul, as we finish our podcast today, was there anything that I did not ask you that you think is important for our listeners to understand?
Oh, you did great, Anya. Thank you for all that you do. You're a great voice in our industry, and really celebrate what you're bringing to our whole old but progressing industry of home building.
Thank you so much, Paul. And likewise, a big fan of what you're doing. And so I can't wait to see, how many companies you're going to have using On3, because it certainly is a great idea and very field friendly. So you guys, thank you so much for being on today's podcast. I hope you've learned a lot. Every single time I have a new guest, I'm always fascinated to learn. I feel like actually I'm like the front seat for all the new cool stuff. So I'm
You
very
are.
fortunate for that.
That's right.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you
And
so much.
Paul, if people are going to be traveling to the International Builder Show,
Yes,
uh, plug away because you're going to be there, right? You're
we
speaking. So
will
what's
be.
your session?
Yeah, we have a couple of sessions. So we're going to be speaking. The first is going to be on doing video-based scopes of work, which will be on three. That'll be a regular session on Tuesday at 11 o'clock, I believe, but don't quote me on that, but do look it up on in the manual and then in the program. And then the second one is going to be leading second year on the CX Super Session, which is really quite an honor. Last year I was tapped to join that group and moderate, which was a wonderful session exploring CX for 2 hours as a super session. And we're going to do it again this year. And this year we have a stellar cast, and I'm super excited to tell you more as it comes out. We're busy preparing for it already. And here we are, still November of 2024, but that's how much work goes into making these sessions for IBS.
Yes, absolutely. I look forward to seeing you at IBS, and hopefully you guys will be able to join us there as well. Until then, bye.